Have you ever sent an email at work only to realise that you had started the mega email thread? You know the one, it goes back and forth, loads of people are included, there's chaos and confusion, and it takes over everyone's workday. Have you done that? I have. Or maybe you have sent an email only to realise that you forgot to include the attachment or the most important point or clarify the one thing that you know the other person is going to ask you about. Have you done that? I have. Have you ever sent an email in a rush and realised that it came across wrong because your tone was off or you didn't consider what the other person was thinking or what else was going on? Yeah, I have. When it comes to email communication, I have made all the mistakes and probably one time too many. But the good news is today I'm going to share some practical ways that you can improve your email communication straight away. There's no rocket science involved here. It's not going to cost you anything. All you need to do is watch the rest of this video, try out the tips and see what ones work best for you. My name is Niamh Moynihan. I'm the founder of Better Workday and the author of Remote Working Essentials. I am passionate about teaching people new ways to manage their time, energy, attention and relationships at work. I think that you could unlock your full potential and be really productive without burning out. And today we're going to do that by improving how we communicate by email. Let's get into it. One of the biggest issues that we have with email communication is that there's so much of it, and the sheer volume can feel overwhelming. It feels like it's a conveyor belt moving at such pace that if you don't get your email into the mix, it'll get lost. And with people having hundreds, if not thousands of messages in their inbox, I totally understand that. But I want us just for today to slow down, step back and consider how we can communicate more intentionally via email so that, yeah, maybe there's a lot going on in the inbox, but your email and your message will still stand out for all the right reasons. The first thing that I recommend to improve your communication by email is to embrace the draft. The draft message is exactly what it says on the tin. You write your first email, you leave it sit there, and then you come back to it after a while to see if there's anything that you want to change. I always call the first version the ugly draft. And I call it this because I want to assume that I'm missing something. You know, in songwriting, they have this theory that when you write a verse, you think it's the first verse, but to make the song great, you should move it down and make it the second verse. Because the idea is that you've probably missed some key information, some key background story, some key plot detail or something about the characters that if you added that in, it would make the story even better. So in work, that means you write your ugly draft, you go away, and when you sit back down, think that that is the second part of the message. What else do you need to add in now to give the context, to give people the right basis of understanding? Because if the other person doesn't understand what you need from them and why it matters and what success looks like, it's going to result in email tennis. So embrace the draft. Now, if the draft doesn't float your boat, you might like to do the second thing. And this one was the game changer for me. Because no matter how many times I did the draft, I'd send the email and then realise that I had forgotten something. Has that happened to you? So what I do is I now send important emails to myself first. Now, there is probably some study or research done, and you can put it in the comments if you know what it is, that explains why as soon as I hit the send button, even though it's just going to me, something goes off in my brain and I realise what I've forgotten or the mistake that I've made. And maybe it's because we're still sending it out there into the universe somewhere. I don't know. All I know is that it works. And I know that when I read it in my inbox as a received message, I see it differently. I see it more as the recipient. And that helps me to refine my message. Now, you might be thinking at this stage, Niamh, that's great, but it sounds like your emails are getting really long and we don't want to have essays in our email. I mean, everyone else is saying to be effective and to get to the point and to be efficient with your words. And I agree. So when it comes to communicating by email, there's a few things you can do to include it in detail without overwhelming people or getting your main points lost in the paragraphs. So the first thing you can do is you can use the dashed line and have above the line and below the line text. So what I mean by that is you could start your email introducing yourself, explaining what you need and why you need it, and then saying, if you need further information, see below the line. And you include all the background detail, any questions you think you might have, links to any resources or anything like that below the dashed line. This means that if the person that you're sending it to understands straight away what you need, they get straight to the point. Brilliant. If they need more information, they have it. They don't have to come back to you. One way to make really good use of this is to imagine that you send the email and the person comes back to you with questions. What questions do you think they're going to ask? Well, why don't you put the answer to those questions in the email ahead of time and maybe save yourselves both a bit of to and fro? So the dashed line is great to have your summary above the line, your ask above the line, your why above the line, and then all the background detail below the line. You could also use the bold font sparingly to highlight things like dates, numbers, key actions, and when that's sparingly used throughout the email, it helps guide people's eye, right? So these are things that you can do within the email. Now, when it comes to the message itself, the most important thing you have to realise is that at this point, it's not about you. It's not about you, because once you send the email to the other person, the ball is in their court and you will want to know a few things. You will first want to be crystal clear on what exactly you want. Because if you don't know the underlying why or purpose or objective to this communication, you're not going to do it clearly. And that's not going to be clearly received by the other person. So you can ask yourself things like, what do I want to be able to do after I get the reply? What will the information I've asked from them allow me to do? What will I be able to move forward once they have given me the go ahead on this thing? So you're not just looking for the reply, you're trying to understand what you'll be able to do after the reply. And that's the purpose, right? And being clear about that is important. And then understanding how that bigger purpose can impact not just you, but the person who's reading the email, and maybe giving them some of that context. So, for example, if you're working on a report and it has information from two different departments, maybe explaining that the reason you're asking for information from the other person is to represent their department correctly and fairly is a good thing to include, because now the other person knows why they should care. And if perhaps they send you the information back by email, it might remove the need for a meeting. So that's a pro for them. So here I'm explaining to them what's in it for them and why they should care. And these are the kind of things that if you consider that when you're writing the text, it's really, really good. Once you have crafted your message, you want to take note of the timing. And it's really tempting for us to get the message done and then just send it off so that it's off our to-do list. It's in somebody else's court. But that isn't always the best idea, because what if it gets lost, either in their mailbox because there's lots of other things coming in, or just in their world because they're paying attention to other things, which means they skim your email but they don't really take it in. So just because it's a good time for you to send it, it doesn't mean it's a good time for the other person to receive it. Now, I know that you're not a mind reader and you can't possibly know the best time for everyone you know to receive an email. But what you can do is stop and think how urgent it is for them to get your message. If you need to reply back within the hour, it's pretty urgent. If you don't need to reply back until the next business day, maybe you can delay sending it by an hour or two, just to create a bit of space. If you don't need it until the end of the week, again, maybe you can delay sending it until, a quieter time of the day or something like that. Or maybe even the subject line, you can say, not urgent, need answer by put in the date, just to give them that context so that straight away they can sense, where they should put this on their own list. So if you want to get things off your plate, by all means, go for it. But take advantage of tools like schedule send or delay send to give a little bit of a buffer between when it leaves your world and enters the other person's. And finally, when it comes to email, always ask yourself, how many emails is this going to take to get to our final decision? And is an email really the best tool to do it? Perhaps a short meeting would be better, or even a phone call. Email is fantastic for sharing information, for, setting context, and for giving facts and figures and including attachments and all those things. But if you need to inspire somebody or persuade somebody, maybe a meeting or a phone call is better. And you'll only know that once you get better at, letting something sit in draft and rereading it and asking, how will it be received? And when you get your reply, this is the thing, make sure you listen. So when we get our email back, it's not enough just to glean what you needed from it and to carry on with your day. Take a minute to really read the reply. See, was your approach correct? Was there any ambiguity or any confusion that maybe you could work on for the next time? And just check to see, do they need anything in return from you as well? So that you don't just rush off to the next thing. So that's it. There are a few tips that you can try straight away to improve how you communicate by email. If you have any email communication tips, I would love to hear them. So you can let me know in the comments below so that I can learn from you and maybe others can learn from you as well. And if you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe and like so that you can get more of my content. Until next time, stay well and have a better workday.